and welcome to this video. Today we are going to be doing Space Invaders in Python part 3 and we'll be learning about the enemy and the background image. Now please make sure you've watched the previous videos before you watch this one because those are really important and obviously you need to set some other stuff as well. So come back once you have watched the previous videos and then you can do this video. But anyway, today we're going to do enemy and background image, as I mentioned before, and this game uses the pygame module. And also, we are going to be focusing on only one enemy. So first, I need to show you a preview, or first I need to show you what the ending result was last time. So in the last video, what we had so far. So let me show you. Okay, so here is my code from last time, and first we need to run it. So what we had last time is we had a moving player. Okay, so we made play movement. So I'm moving my left and right arrow, and our player is moving perfectly. And also we set a border for that. So you might need to tweak that. Okay, so I just resized my image, but don't worry about that. We'll tweak it. I'll tweak it right now. Okay, so let me just pause the video. Okay, so I tweaked my border, and now let me just run this. Now, what should happen is it won't collide with the border. And that is what we wanted. That is what we did last time. So this time we're going to set an enemy. But in this video, we're only going to be working on one enemy and it's that movement. Okay. So first we want to actually display the enemy. So in my project panel, I have enemy.png. I'll put the link in the description so you can download it. But this is my enemy, a very nice Space Invaders enemy. It's transparent, that's what we need, and it is 64 by 64 pixels. So if you find any other enemy or anything you like, make sure it's transparent and you need to set it to 64 by 64 pixels, okay, because that is the size we want. So first, what do we want to do? We want to display the enemy, right? So what we'll do is I'm going to copy this because it's going to be really similar. And my enemy is called enemy.png. So instead of player img, I'm going to say enemy img. Oops, I missed out the end there. There we go. And then instead of player x, I'm going to put in enemy x. Instead of player y, I'm going to put in enemy y. Instead of player exchange, I'm just going to put in enemy x changed. Now we won't be using that now, but let's just keep it there because we will use it at some point. Okay, so right now we want to actually display the enemy. So what I'm going to do is right here I'm going to copy this, so because we want to blit our enemy onto the screen. So if I copy that, there we go. So instead of player, it's enemy. Okay, so screen.blit, we want to put in X and Y. And then obviously we want to display the enemy. So down here I'm going to write a comment saying display the enemy, and that is what we want. So what do we want to do? We want to call the function. So I'm going to say enemy. I'm going to put in enemy X and enemy Y. Okay, so why is this? It's because we want to spawn it. Now this enemy should overlap the player. So let's see what happens actually. So as you can see, we've just got an enemy. It's just right here, and it's exactly the same as our player. And you would have noticed why already. So what we need to do, instead of enemy img, instead of player img, we need to change it to enemy img. Now, if you run it, okay. So sorry, let me just run this properly. So we put in enemy img. Okay. And what we need to do is we put all of this in. So what actually happened here. Okay, so here we do it correctly. So if we just check run and then run main. Okay, so it's still overlapping. So let me just check what happened. Okay, so I found the error and it was very obvious. So what I need to do is in player I put in player.png, so I need to put in enemy.png. And if I oops, sorry, what happened there? If I run this, there we go. So I've got a purple enemy. That is my enemy and it's overlapping. Now I don't want it to spawn down here because that's a bit boring actually. So let me just disconnect this. So that would be boring if we just had an enemy spawning the same area as the player. So what we want to do is we want to spawn it somewhere at the top. So if I just run this, we want to spawn it somewhere up here. Okay, so that is where it's going to start. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to say I'm gonna say player X. I'm gonna set that to 370 because that's perfect. Player Y, I'm gonna set it to, let's say, 50. Now that works perfectly for me. You can tweak around with it if you want. So if we run it, whoops, we accidentally changed the player X. Let me just undo that. So we want to change the enemy X. Okay, so I'm gonna set that to 40. Okay, so our enemy has spawned up there. Now, we want it to spawn somewhere at the top, but we want it to spawn at a random position. So this is where we use a random function because it picks out random numbers, random stuff for you. So I'm going to say import random. So it's as simple as that. What you need to do is say import random. And in enemy, we want to what we want to do is let me just change this to 0 first. Okay, there we go. So what we want to do is we want our Python interpreter to pick a random integer in between like a certain range. So I'm gonna say my enemy x is equal to whoops, not enemy, sorry. Enemy x is equal to random dot randint. So it will choose a random integer in a range. So I'm going to say 0 and 800. Okay, so what that will do is basically it's going to if we run this, it's going to spawn somewhere over here. And then also I want to set enemy y. I'm going to say random dot randint, and I'm going to put 50 and 150. Now that works perfectly for me. You can tweak the values, it isn't that hard. So if we run this, let me just bring the screen up here. Okay, so let's if we try to run this again, so if I expand it and run it again, and run it again, so it will spawn in random places sometimes. Okay, so mine isn't for some reason. So if I just run it properly. Okay, so mine spawned in a random place. So that is what we want. But it's actually a bit boring if our enemy just stands there in a random position that we choose and doesn't move, okay? Because that would just be boring. So what I did is I created a image for you, and basically I took a screenshot and I took out this bit. And obviously this is our enemy movement. So this is our y-axis, this is our x-axis. And we want our enemy to move this way and then go down probably like 40 or 50 pixels. And we want it to be here, and then again we want it to go to the left, go down and move another 40 or 50 pixels. And that's what we want. So as I told you, we are only focusing on on one enemy, but that's okay with me. So now let's actually go on to moving our enemy. Okay, so basically we want to move our enemy. So what do we want to do? So basically it's really simple. It's very similar to the player. So what we actually want to do is we are actually just going to copy this. So I'm gonna copy this and paste it. Okay, so let me just unindent this. Shift tab. There we go. So I'm going to write a few more comments here. So I'm gonna say border check for player. And obviously you want to do that for the enemy as well. So instead of moving the player, we're gonna move the enemy. And instead of player X, I'm gonna say enemy X, and then instead of player X changes enemy X change. Okay, so basically we don't need to involve that here because that is only for key presses, so we can just do it right here. So it will move it will move this way all the time. So what do we want to do first? So we want to do a border check for our enemy, so we can reverse the direction if it hits the border. So what I'm gonna do right here is I'm gonna say border check for enemy, and this side is okay. So what do we want to do? So what we want to do is we want to actually reverse the direction. So first I'm going to change these to enemy X, and then enemy X, there we go, enemy X, and enemy X. Okay, so we've changed all of that. So how are we going to reverse the direction? So basically it's a matter of arithmetic. So all we want to do is we want to say enemy X change is equal to 0.3. So here it will start moving the other direction. Okay, so it will move the other direction if it hits the left border, and it's same with that. We want to just copy this and paste that there. Instead of 0.3, we want to put minus 0.3, so it goes left if it hits the right border. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tweak this for my enemy, so I'm going to put it 740 so it doesn't kind of go off the screen at the same time. So now what we want to do is I'm just going to run this. Okay, so our enemy is not moving. Okay, so that may be very panicky for you, but don't worry, it's not that much of a problem. All we need to do is we want to put enemy exchange. I'm just going to change that to 0.3, and if we run it, okay, so sorry, I've accidentally. Okay, so if we just okay, so let me just fix this error. Okay, so enemy exchange. What do we want to change it to again? 0.3. So if we run this. Okay, so our enemy is still moving. So I'll come back when I have fixed this error and I'll explain. Okay, so here I am back again, and I just discovered what the error was, and it was just very silly. So instead of enemy X, I put in enemy Y and enemy Y at the same time. So if I run this again, okay, so our enemy is actually a bit slow, but we can change the speed, don't worry. So what we can do is we can change this to like 1, and then change this to 1 as well, and then we can go up to here and change this to 1. Okay, so shift F10 to run it. Okay, so that's working much better. It's going nice and fast. So it's bouncing off, but it's not actually going down. So what we want to do is we want to actually make it go down. Now how are we gonna do this? So we can put in enemy, we can put in enemy Y change as well. Okay, and we are going to set this to Well, I've tried it out and we can set it to 40 and it works really, really well. And right here, for our border check for the enemy, right before enemy exchange is equal to 1, you don't have to do it before, but I like doing it before so it makes more sense. We can write down enemy, enemy y change. Actually, no, not y change, sorry. Not an enemy y, plus equals enemy y y change. So the y will be that coordinate and then it'll move down and start moving again. And we want to do the same with the other side as well. So I'm just gonna copy and paste that. And now if we actually run it, we discover, you can see that our enemy is moving down now. So that is brilliant actually, and it's not affecting our player at any cost. So it's actually a pretty good speed. Okay, so now we have done that. Notice when we are running our game, the background's just a very boring black. So I don't really like playing backgrounds like that. I like it like more space themed. So what I did is I downloaded a background. So I put background.jpg. So you need JPG because it's nice and big. Make sure it's 800 by 600, okay? So you can choose whatever background you want as long as it's 800 by 600, okay? So I'm just choosing a nice space background. So how are we actually going to set the background? Well, this is actually really, really easy. So basically it's what we can do is we can do it on the screen. So right here I'm going to put in setting the background. Okay, so put in my comment. Now what do I want to do? So basically what you can do is, as you can see from this player, you can just copy this. So sorry, my mouse went crazy there. So what you can do is you can copy this, and then put that in. Instead of player img, you can just put in, instead of player img, you can put in background. And instead of pygame, pygame.image.load, and then instead of player png, I'm going to put in background.jpg. Now I'd recommend it in a JPG format because then it would be really, really easy and it will come nice and big. Otherwise it won't load if it's PNG, and that's a bit annoying. So what we want to do, if we run this, well, it's not really coming, is it? That is because we haven't actually made it occur. So what do we actually want to do? Where are we going to put in our background? So if you guys got it correct, you need to put the background in the while loop, okay? And what we can do here is we can put in a comment saying background image. And also we can, under that, we can say screen.blit. And what do we want to blit onto that? So we need to put in our variable name, background. And also, where do we want to blit it? So I'm just going to blit it from the top left corner. So that's going to be 0, 0. So if we run this, I've got my background, but notice my player and my enemy. They've gone much, much, much more, they've gone much, much slower. Now, why is this? This is because if you put in a background, it takes up a lot of KB, so what, and it slows up the iterations in your while loop. So what do you want to do? Well, that's very simple. We can change our player X to 5, change this to 5, and then what can we change the enemy speed to? So I'm gonna change mine to 1.5 because I think that fits quite well. And also what we want to do is we want to scroll up here and set it to 1.5 as well if you want. So we need to change enemy X change to that, so 1.5. Okay, so if we run this, okay, so there you go, beautiful. Our player and enemy are moving beautifully now. Okay, so what have we learned today? Okay, so we have learned how to we imported the random function. We set a background using pygame.image.load. We also made an enemy. We created a function for it where we displayed it on. And also for our enemy, we put in random positions. And we learned how to move it left, right, and down when it touched the border. We changed the speed, we loaded the background, and all of that. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and press the like button. Um, if you have any doubts, please comment down in the comment section below. Or if you have any suggestions, give me a comment. Um, and also, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please look out for the next video, because we'll be doing a few more advanced stuff. And I will be putting the code for this. I'll be putting the code for this in the what's it called in the description, and I'll also be putting the Space Invader. I'll be putting 3 different ones, so you can choose which one you want. I guess that's the end of this video. Bye.